full of rules. You want to cross the street, hit that button and wait. You want to see that doctor, get a referral. You want to buy thin sliced American cheese slices for your turkey sandwiches because your stomach's telling you got to take a few weeks off the spicy food, take a deli number. And then there's screenwriting. What's the single most important rule in screenwriting? It's that there are no rules. If someone tries to convince you that there's a rule, they don't know what they're talking about. If somebody tries to tell you that you can't innovate on the page, they don't know what they're talking about. If somebody tries to make you believe for 1 minute that there aren't at the very least guiding principles to screenwriting, however, they also don't know what they're talking about. There are no rules, but there are still things that you should do. We'll talk creative time, stuff another time. But for today, we're going to talk about formatting. If you're waiting for a final answer on bolded slug lines or whatever you've come, whatever Twitter battle that you've been involved in, where you've definitely come to the wrong place. The truth is, as long as you are consistent with stuff like that, you do you. What I want to talk about are some more philosophical things. What's a script, right? A script is a blueprint for an incomplete and greater piece of art. But does it have to read like a blueprint for an incomplete and greater piece of art? No, 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 never, no. If you want to keep readers engaged, be interesting and clean and clear on the page. Keep them locked in with your voice. They're not reading, they're just having a chat with a delightful friend. And then make sure you don't bump them out of your world by doing things to remind them that they're reading a blueprint for an incomplete and greater piece of art. What are some of those things that could bump a reader out? One of them for me is technical terms. And let me say once again, there are no rules. You do what you want to do, and everybody gets that thing. I've never worked with a director who didn't include technical terms in their script. I don't like to include technical terms like camera or pan or close up into my scripts because I don't want to remind the producer who's eventually going to read this thing that this wonderful story they're enjoying on a Saturday afternoon is going to ultimately turn into 6 months of grueling work and long overnights and all that stuff. I like them to forget and just read a story and get completely lost in it. The movie, the show, that can all come later. No rules, just me trying to increase my odds of keeping them in the read. For the same reason, I don't use stuff like numbered characters. No hostage 1, FBI agent 3 for me. I prefer to sneak in a little descriptive for these side characters who don't deserve a name. So you'll see stuff like burly hostage or balding hostage or grim FBI agent or like ill-fitting suit FBI agent. I've also got a problem with what I like to call, very charitably, lazy left out writing parts. Meaning like stuff like if you've got two characters and they're walking away from us and you write, as they walk away, they talk amongst themselves. Well, you either got to tell us that we can't hear them or you have to tell us what they're saying. It's one or the other. What you don't want, I promise, is that 2 years later, you're sitting in some editing room somewhere watching two actors ad lib nonsense that you didn't have anything to do with and didn't write, and that you hate and will forever be attributed to you just because you didn't bother to write it out. Other lazy left out writing parts include not doing scene headings when you need to. It's a really basic principle for when you need a new scene heading. You need a new scene heading every time you move on to a new action in a new place that we can't see from the place we were before. So like if you're in a small apartment, the foyer, the kitchen, the living room, and the dining room are really just one space. So you do not need scene headings to move between those areas. You could just say kitchen, colon, or whatever you want. But you go to the bedroom or down, which is down like a hallway way back in the back that we can't see from where we are, that's a scene heading. Even if, and I hear this from a lot of writers, like even if you're in the throes of action and you just feel like writing exterior bank continuous is going to ruin the flow of what you're doing, you must resist the urge to break it and do that. The people who read scripts are used to reading them with the scene headings. Like you're not interrupting anybody's flow by including them. What you are doing, if you leave them out, is opening yourself to being accosted on a set one day by like a middle-aged guy in cargo shorts and a vest, who had to track down an FDX of your script so he could go insert all the scene headings inside for production breakdowns. Let's talk about the paragraph. Paragraphs are important, right? Because they're read by the readers of your script. Well, most of those at first are professional readers, the ones who have to read like 9 of these things over the weekend for $40 a piece and write a 3-page synopsis of it. They are going to skim. If you've buried the big reveal of the bloody knife on the right side of the page on line 7 of a 9-line paragraph, like two-thirds of the way down the page, they are going to skim right past your bloody knife reveal. What I like to do is one beat, one thought, or one action per paragraph. Something new happens, new paragraph. Doesn't matter if it's 3 sentences on a line. Jeff pulls a knife. Timmy runs to the garage. Jeff stabs out with the knife. That's 3 paragraphs, 3 separate thoughts or actions, 3 paragraphs. You got to beat the skimmers. And the skim clock resets with each new paragraph that you use. Also, when it comes to the read, let's talk about writing out action. And I don't mean, like the jumping from one building to another kind specifically, although that's included in this. I mean all action, like all in everything that anybody does in this thing. As a general principle, you don't want to spend half a page talking about tying your shoe. It's going to wear out its welcome. It's going to make your script feel long and slow. Actions just really shouldn't take any longer to read than they take to do. We've all got like an internal read clock with scripts. It plays time for us, like how it should pass in a scene, the way that it would feel in life. And if you're too long and novelistic with your descriptives of like minor actions or moments, it's going to throw off the internal clock of the reader, and it's going to make stuff start to feel fake. So last 2 things, grammar and spelling. So it's 2024. Grammar and spelling are dead. Nobody cares. But there's still some Alta-Cocker producers and studio heads out there, Gen X and above, who might cling on to grammar and spelling. So since one part of the audience doesn't care about it, and one side does, and still kind of like, let's face it, judges you based on it, why not go ahead and use the grammar and spelling properly? It's a bonus to some, and others don't care. So why do all this work on your script and your story and then take a chance on giving anybody a chance to think negatively about what you've done? Choke on it and do it. You know what I mean? I will say, though, when it comes to slang or newly adopted legitimate words and spellings, anything that smacks of your authenticity on the page for this material, keep it. Always be you first. Authenticity trumps any sort of perceived rule. Last one, 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why. We all know that readers can ditch out on your script somewhere around page 10 or 15 or 20, if they don't like what they're reading for whatever reason. Some people think that means that you've got to pack in who, what, when, where, and why of your story into those first 10 pages. I think as writers, one thing we all know is jamming who, what, when, where, and why into the first 10 or even 20 pages sometimes is going to result in a really terrible script. So don't worry about it. What a reader really wants is not to know all the details of that information. What they really want is to make sure that you know all those things. They want to, you want to instill confidence in the reader, us, that you have all the answers, that they're coming, and we should just be patient and enjoy ourselves. So don't worry about jamming all that information in there. Jam in the confidence instilling writing that lets them know you got this. They're going to love that. Grab your reader with clarity. Keep them around with emotional involvement. Make them feel things. And do your best to make them forget that they're reading a screenplay. Let them just get lost in a story. There's so many more of these to come, but also more videos to come. If you want to hear about this or any other particular topic, please let us know. All the contact info is down below. All of the tips and tricks and techniques that you see here or hear about all began and continue on in the Zooms that I do for writers all around the world. They are designed to be the least expensive, most informative learning opportunities you could find about screenwriting online anywhere. So if you ever feel like it, come give us a shot. Again, all that information is down below. And really, just like best of luck to all of us, and have a great weekend.